It's your girl Sierra. Don't get it wrong. Spell my name right. It's C apostrophe A-I-R-A. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Let's just say it's Wednesday. I've had a long, rough day. I felt like kind of connecting with other people would help it be better as far as making this video for other parents to understand, you know, what someone's going through. So, sitting here in the sun, and it's hot. So anyways, for those of you who don't know, I have a 9-year-old who has ADHD, and there are times where throughout the months of having to refill prescriptions every month, it sometimes makes me go without the next day. A, depending on if I can remember, B, depending on if that pharmacy even has it, or C, if the doctors have put it in. So let's just rewind. Okay, so ADHD is basically, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a complex neurodevelopmental disorder that can affect a child's success at school as well as their relationships. The symptoms of ADHD can vary and, are sometimes difficult to recognize. And I'm going to agree with that. It does interact with your child's success at school, at home, and in relationships. The symptoms do vary. I can say that I didn't see it coming. And even as me becoming a teacher, I never seen it coming that, this is what it was or this is what it was going to be. So a child can experience many of the individual symptoms of ADHD. So you're going to definitely want to take your child to the doctor in order to be diagnosed, so that they can evaluate your child using several criterias. ADHD is generally diagnosed in children by the time that they're teenagers. So my son was diagnosed at 4, almost 5. And, now he's 9. So here it is. It's 5 years later. So, like I said, 5 years later. Older children experience, symptoms that, that come along with ADHD, but, they've often exhibited rather elaborate symptoms early in life. So I'm going to talk about 14 signs, for ADHD, for whether you're having the same problem that I did and, want help or, want to know where to start. When this happened, I was young. I was under 21. So I'm what do I need to do? I'm just lost. I had guidance from, kind of my mother and whoever else she could, figure out, how to help out with these problems. So number 1, self-focused behavior. So a common sign in ADHD is that they don't have the inability to recognize other people's needs and desires, which can lead to the next 2 signs, which is interrupting and trouble waiting their turn. Interrupting. So self-focused behavior, can lead to a child with ADHD, which leads them to interrupt others while they're talking or in conversations or games that, they're not a part of. I do recognize that sign in my child. Definitely cannot go without interrupting my conversation. Definitely feels like he has to butt in. And they, as far as as far as having trouble waiting their turn, they're very impatient. So yes, kids with ADHD may have trouble waiting their turn during classroom activities or while playing games with others. This is another sign. It still is a sign. So for me, and so the fourth sign that we have is emotional turmoil. A child with ADHD may have trouble keeping their emotions in check. They can have outbursts of anger at any point in time, and definitely at inappropriate times. So this is another one that definitely is a connection. Okay. Number 5, fidgeting. Children with ADHD often cannot sit still. They keep trying to get up and they keep trying to run around and fidget and squirm in their chair, when they're forced to just sit. It's very hard sitting for a long period of time. There's another connection. Mine couldn't sit still in the chair, just fidgeting with a bunch of things, trying to run around the room. We all get that. So the 6th one is problems playing quietly. So the fidgetness comes into play and can make it difficult for kids with ADHD to play quietly or engage calmly in leisure activities. So, it can just really be difficult for kids with ADHD to, like play a game quietly or read a book quietly. It's just like their mouths have to always be moving. So, to this day, I still see it. 7, unfinished task. A child with ADHD may show interest in lots of different things, but they may have problems finishing them. So, for example, they may start projects, chores, homework, but basically move on to the next thing because, it catches their interest or it catches their eye before finishing. Like a prime example, you can tell your child to clean a certain thing and then, because something else catches their eye in the meantime, it's like they stop what they're doing to do whatever it is that they had found to do. Number 8, they have a lack of focus. So a child with ADHD may have trouble paying attention, even when someone is speaking directly to them. There's another connection. When my son is speaking to someone, it's like, you're looking directly at the person, but then he's looking, around and acknowledging his surroundings. So most definitely, they'll say that they heard you, but they won't be able to repeat back to you what you just said. So, when you can tell that a child is not really focusing on the schoolwork, on the conversations, or just focusing on what was asked, then yes, it's a lack of focus, and you can definitely tell. Number 9, avoidance of task needing extending mental effort. So the lack of focus can cause a child to avoid activities that, require a sustained mental effort, such as like paying attention in class or doing homework. If they're supposed to be doing something. And number 10 is mistakes. Children with ADHD, may have trouble following instructions that require planning or executing a plan. This can lead to careless mistakes, but it doesn't indicate like a laziness or a lack of intelligence. It's just, when given a task, children can have trouble following along with the task of what was, planned or what was required. And that's what causes mistakes when it comes to executing that plan. So yes, it doesn't mean laziness. It doesn't mean, a lack of intelligence. It just means, like kids with ADHD are definitely going to have mistakes. And they're going to make them. So the 11th one, daydreaming. If you find a child just daydreaming, like children with ADHD aren't always rambunctious and loud, especially as far as I know on my behalf with medication. No, not always rambunctious, not always loud. But another sign of ADHD is, like being very quiet and less involved in the other kids. And that also brings the piece of, the mistakes. It's not a lack of laziness. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's just that, they're more to themselves. They're more quieter. So yeah, a child with ADHD may stare into space, daydream, and ignore what's going on around them. Number 12. So trouble getting organized. A child with ADHD may have trouble keeping track of tasks and activities, which can cause problems at home, school, and they find it harder to prioritize homework, school projects, and other assignments. So, it's just a thing of like keeping on task with what's needed, and, just gentle reminders can definitely help get organized. Number 13, forgetfulness. Kids with ADHD may be forgetful in daily activities. They may forget to do chores, homework. They may also lose things such as toys. It's just a thing of, having so much going on inside that they don't know where things are, where they put them, where they should be. Number 14, symptoms in multiple settings. So a child with ADHD will show symptoms of the condition in more than one setting. For instance, they can show a lack of focus in both home and school, or they can just show a lack of focus in one, honestly. I know that for me, it was the connection was not being focused in school, and rather than the home. But, then it started to show in the home as well. So some symptoms as your child gets older. A child with ADHD, as they get older, they'll often not have much self-control as other children their own age, but this can make kids and adolescents with ADHD seem more mature compared to their peers. Some daily tasks that adolescents with ADHD, may have trouble with is, driving safely, time management, helping out with chores at home, maintaining personal hygiene, compromising with peers, reading social cues, focusing on schoolwork and assignments. So, as we look forward, all children are going to exhibit some of these behaviors at some point. Daydreaming, fidgeting, and, persistent interruptions are all common behaviors in children. So, your next steps. Your child, you should think about these next steps. If your child regularly, displays signs of ADHD, and then that the behavior is affecting the success in school, leading to negative interactions with peers, teachers. ADHD is treatable. If your child is diagnosed with ADHD, the treatment options can be reviewed with the doctor. You can, then set up a time with the doctor, and then, best figure out the action or the course that you would like to take. So, for myself, some of the symptoms that we seen in order for me to have to get him diagnosed was I was having to pick my son up from school in pre-K every morning before at least like 10. Getting phone calls saying that he was hitting, and as a concerned parent, I'm wanting to know, like, can I see these hittings? Can I see these bruises or these scratches put on other people? School policy, no. It's just like, I don't want to see it for my own eyes to see. I just want to, I wanted him to realize, like, what he was doing. Time went on into my teaching, and I ended up taking classes for certain things as far as teaching and dealing with children who have disabilities, and I got more knowledge. So, as a parent, as the time goes on, you learn how to deal with your children. You learn how to, try and stay on top of medications, always being stocked up. So, I felt like I wanted to come on and do this video because I feel like there's a lot of people in this world And, especially young parents who don't know, what to do if your child starts acting out, showing out. I first thought that this was happening because I had another child. But then it turns out it wasn't because of that. He really does have ADHD. And, I'm not afraid to, let people know what, what medication he's on. I like sharing my story because, like I said, I was young, didn't know what to do first, who to call first. Of course, when he was diagnosed and given medication, he was under the age of 6 for insurance to cover him. So that was a process too. So I will say, be prepared for that. Most definitely, even if you have to write down the symptoms on a piece of paper and just, sit back and check them off. And if it's majority of those symptoms, talk to your doctor.